everybody, and thanks for joining me today. Okay, just figuring out where I am here. Right here, okay. There. I should switch colors to the one I'm actually using. There we go, so I don't confuse y'all. So yeah, it's been a lovely few days here. Getting to do my exercise outside. I'm getting more sun, as you can probably tell. I have more freckles. Yeah, finally, after a long winter and a spring that kept pretending it was arriving and then going away again. Yeah, as someone said, it's like winter storming out after a disagreement and then keeps coming back in to say, and one more thing. That's how our winters end. Oh yeah, I was excited. We got our first little swan stitched. I didn't kind of realize as I was stitching it, sort of white among all the blue water in the fountain. But yeah, we got the first little guy done. Swan or a goose? I don't know. Probably a swan. As long as it's not a Canada goose. Man, those are mean little jerks. Yeah. You ever been bitten by one of those? They leave welts. Which was funny. I saw a video where it showed a bunch of military guys having to walk by a goose nest, and it kept, hissing at them and stuff, and they kept jumping away. It says, here's your brave soldiers, but I mean, I don't blame them. Like I said, they're mean little jerks. Yeah, interesting fact. The Canada goose is not the official bird of Canada. You would think it was. I mean, it's right there in the name, right? But no, the official bird of Canada is the whiskey jack. I don't know who decided that was a better choice. There was a comedian I saw who said, so was, did somebody say, like, is there a beer duck? No, okay, whiskey jack. Yeah, most Canadians wouldn't be able to tell you what a whiskey jack looks like. I looked it up, and I think they're kind of a bluish gray little bird, like the size of a cardinal kind of thing. So, yeah. I think I saw one on my fence the other day, and I tried to get a picture to show my kid, but it flew away before I could get my phone out. So could have been a blue jay too. I mean, I'm not a bird watcher, so I don't know. Yeah, the crows we have out here too, they're like they're not just black, they have a little bit of white on their wings too. It's like a different species. We do have the completely black ones too, but yeah, out here on the prairie, I mean, maybe they're not a crow. Somebody told me they are, so I don't know. Like I said, that ain't my hobby, the bird watching. Okay. All right, do a whole bunch once here. Because, yeah, like I've said before, I don't cross as I go, generally. Unless I want the thread to end up opposite from the side I started on. Gosh, there we go. Yeah, I heard a joke that's saying Canadians are nice because all our meanness goes into the Canada geese. Yeah, there aren't as many of them here. Where I grew up on Vancouver Island, there were tons of them. Yeah, my husband called them crap factories. So yeah, they do poop everywhere. Yeah, and then when I moved inland, I had to get used to there being a lot less seagulls, obviously. But they are still around, but yeah, not as many since we're far away from the sea here. Yeah, that was a really, really bad joke I heard that said, why do seagulls fly over the sea? And then it said, because if they flew over the bay, they'd be bagels. Yes, I know. I can hear you all groaning from here. It's terrible, isn't it? Yeah, my friends all know to tag me in when there's terrible jokes. I like dreadful jokes. Of course, I always complained when my dad told them, but then now they're my hobby, so... Okay, I see what I did. So I'm going to fill in some stuff here so I can do that one that's still threaded and has only one stitch left in that area. Then I can get it done, completed, and out of my way. Yeah, bad jokes or Rick-rolling memes, because my son and I have a Rick-roll battle going on, so. Said, I'll always know when he picks up his phone in the house because I'll hear, "Really, Mom?" It's like, well, you know what? He started it. Okay, fair bit of confetti in this little area. Oh my. Let's see if I can pinch it enough to get it to come through. Nope. That is just not going to happen. And I don't lick my thread anymore. Yeah, it took a bit to break myself of that habit, but it's better for your stitching because, I mean, otherwise it got digestive enzymes in it, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops, pulled a little too hard before I secured that end. There we are. And I'm going to thread this one across the back. Whoops. Oh dear. Try that again. There we are. Yeah. It's a little bit of a darker color that could stand out a bit. So just to ensure it won't show through, do it that way. Yeah, I had a feeling this is only going to be long enough for these two. Oh, geez. And I unthreaded it. Oh, brother. Darn it. There we go. Yeah, there's more colors in this bit than it looks like there are, but that is what adds the detail and the depth, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, 3743. Okay, I did all that just so I can do this one. So sometimes I would leave that for the next diagonal. This time I just decided to get it done. It saves me one rethreading since it was already threaded. Almost running out of squares to do pin stitches in here. There's quite a lot of ends. That's okay. There we go. Okay. Oh my. We're approaching the bottom of this diagonal. I'm going to row 300 for this pass across, and this is line 290 right here. So yeah, maybe we'll even reach the bottom during this session of Stitch With Me. We shall see. Okay, this one I'm going to end off because there really isn't a convenient and close enough place to park it again. I'll end and restart because otherwise I'd just be using more thread to carry it that far. Oh, that is a long bit. I think I'm going to park this one out of the diagonal. There we go. most of these are not threaded yet, since I'm just starting this section here, these colors. So yeah, up close, this little bird here might not look like much, but when you back up, it looks a little better. And then we've got some bigger swans coming up on the other side of the fountain too. Perfect, yeah. This will be just enough for these two, and these are the last one in this area. I love when it works out like that. I have a harder time going this direction, just because of the way my right is my dominant hand. I find it easier to push the needle that way when going along the back. So yeah, it's nice. It's warmer now, but not hot enough to need any air conditioning. Every year I try to see how long I can hold off before I have to turn it on, because I'm cheap. I'm actually surprised. It was a very small little just window air conditioning unit that we bought, oh, years ago. My son was a toddler then, so yeah, it's over 10 years old. Pardon me. And so my husband just stuck it in a window in the basement, because that was sort of the only one that it would really work. And then he has it hooked up to feed into the furnace, and then we just turn just the fan of the furnace on to circulate the cool air, and it actually works pretty well. For such a small unit, you wouldn't think it would be capable of cooling the whole house quite that efficiently, but yeah, it's not bad at all. Pardon me. Of course, getting our triple pane windows put in a couple of years ago now, that's made a huge difference. Sometimes I don't even turn the air conditioner on, but I'll go to take the garbage out and, you know, wave of heat hits me. I didn't realize it was that hot out, or that cold, depending on, you know, the time of the year. Yeah, and then we insulated the ceiling too, because they cheaped out on that. We bought the house, it was, I think my husband said there's only a couple of inches of insulation in the attic. So we went and got one of those, rented one of those, our own blower machines, and bought the all the fiberglass, and we did it ourselves. Oh man, I could barely move for 3 days afterwards. That was, oh. Because yeah, it's a two-person job, so I was in charge of feeding it into the machine while my husband had the hose crawling around in the attic space up there to blow it in. But yeah, it's made the house more energy efficient. So although I think I calculated that it would take something like, geez, 10 to 15 years to save the money on energy for what we spent on doing that. But oh boy. But I guess also the that means the furnace will last longer, hopefully, since it doesn't have to kick on as often. Yeah, because I remember before we did all that stuff and we had one of those cold snaps in the winter where it was, you know, -40 or even colder sometimes. And basically the furnace almost never shut off. It would click off for like 2 minutes and then kick on again because, yeah, it was just that cold. Yeah, so now it's much better. Yeah, we had that really cold one a couple years ago when Texas had the blackout. Yeah, that was pretty bad. I was thinking, so they finally get to experience the winter we do, but of course I recognize their homes were not built for it. You know, ours are at least. And yeah, my mother-in-law was saying because their family's from Hungary and they still have relatives there, and a lot of people, their houses are basically just kind of like log cabins with like no insulation. So yeah, people were having a hard time keeping from freezing pipes or even themselves potentially freezing to death. So yeah, fortunately everybody made it through okay, but yeah, quite an ordeal. Yeah, I remember we had the year my son was born, and the furnace was like original to the house, so it was, let's see, 40 years, 30 years, 35, 40 years old by then. So yeah, and it quit one time in the middle of the night in a cold snap. So my poor husband, he had to get up and sort of manually run the motor every now and then to keep things from freezing, because like the actual heating worked, but it wouldn't circulate the air. So he had to do that. And then, yeah, we brought our son's crib into our room, and I had luckily a couple of plug-in oil heaters because we still had power. So that got us through that night till he could buy a replacement motor part in the morning to, yeah, to at least keep us from freezing our pipes and everything until we could get the actual furnace put in. Yeah. Yeah, he actually put the furnace in himself, which was, so that saved us about half the cost. 'Cause, yeah, they're not cheap. And then you just have to have it inspected after you put it in. They have to make sure that, yeah, you hooked the gas and everything up properly so you're not going to asphyxiate yourself by accident, because that would not be good. But, yeah, I'm really happy, and we're fortunate. My husband is very good at fixing almost anything. So it has saved us a lot. Yeah, and that's, you know, I often said, oh, I'm so glad you're so handy. And my husband just sort of thought, well, what's the big deal? Because he takes after his dad, and his dad's the same way, fixes almost anything. And then we had friends who would come over to ask us to fix botched do-it-yourself repairs and stuff, and he would see the stuff people did. He's like, oh, okay, I get it now, because some of the stuff people did was just, eek. What were you thinking, man? Oh. Yeah, he watched, I don't know if that's still on, but it was a Discovery Channel show of Canada's Worst Handyman. My gosh, the stuff people did. The worst part was they showed them before, sort of, okay, step by step, this is how you do this task. And then they'd set them to do it, and then people would just, oh, there was a guy who they had to change out a set of faucets, and he just sort of took a sledgehammer and started smashing at the taps, like without even turning the water off first. And that's not how you remove taps. And, oh, you know, and then my husband said, well, it's probably all staged, which I said, true. You know, reality shows are not as reality as they market themselves to be, right? But I said, you know, you never know. I remember when I was in a cooking class and they taught us how to make pastry, and the teacher says, you know, make sure you handle the pastry as little as possible, be very gentle, and otherwise you'll make it tough. And I could hear people just sort of like slamming it against the cutting board and just like smacking it with rolling pins and rolling it out over and over and over till it's all rubbery. And then they're going, well, what's wrong? It's like, well, did you not watch the demonstration when the teacher did it? Did you not hear her when she repeatedly said, do not be rough with pastry dough? Oh, so, you know, maybe it's not as staged. Oh. Yeah, some people are just no good at following directions. Or I remember when we had to make cream puffs in that class. And again, we're told, you know, you don't try to speed up the cooling of them or they'll collapse. Don't cut them open before they're completely cool or they'll collapse. And of course, people did that, collapsed them. And I remember because we had sort of groups of 4 in each little kitchen space. And one of the other gals there, her cream puffs did not turn out. So she asked, can I trade one with you? I said, sure. I took pity on her. And then when I brought them home, my sister sort of looked at that one and said, well, what did you do wrong with that one? I said, oh, I didn't make that one. But that was like, yeah, somebody was saying, a friend was saying they made Yorkshire puddings and they collapsed and they figured no one will know. I'll just serve them that way, you know, flat like pucks. And someone else asked for the recipe and made them and then said, oh, they were terrible. They were all big and puffy, not knowing they're supposed to be that way. She did it properly. I guess we all can't be talented in everything, right? Oh, what am I doing here? Right. Yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just sort of carry this one back up along. I'm probably going to have to add another thread at some point because I don't think I have enough to do all these stitches, but yeah, we'll see. Just kind of working sort of bottom up at this point. I just go wherever the colors take me. Yeah, and like I've said, not a bad cook, but or even baker, but when it comes to making fancy cakes, yeah, I am hopeless. Even just basic cakes. Yeah, anything fancy on any cakes I make is just pre-made decorations that get, let's see, well, this is actually more than those 4, so I'm going to, just kind of traveling around a little bit. I'm going to mark it right there. I can't remember if my grandma's a very good baker, but she's a great cook. Yeah, she makes yummy food. Well, she had some epic fails. She had one time she grabbed the jug of lemon Kool-Aid instead of the jug of chicken stock, and didn't notice made chicken soup. Yeah, and then kids said, "Mom, this tastes really funny," and yeah, that was why. Or she tried to make a zucchini lime jam somebody had talked about. So she grated up the zucchini and used like a lime jello or something, and they said, yeah, it looked like tadpoles in congealed pond water, so the kids wouldn't eat it. But of course, you know, Grandma grew up during the Great Depression, so you don't waste anything. So yeah, it started showing up in everything. The meatloaf would get a scoop of it in there. Yeah, Mom, why are the pancakes green? It's not St. Patrick's Day. Yeah, that's why. It's food. It's edible. You're going to eat it. One way or the other. Oh, but you know, who hasn't had an epic fail? I had, oh, like making yogurt sauces with the Greek yogurt for dips and things. They're quite yummy. And because I can't eat like cream ones. For some reason, I can't have like actual milk unless it's baked. Like it's, I don't know what it is, because I can have cheese and I can have yogurt. I think because they have the bacterial culture in them, helps you to digest it, whereas plain milk doesn't. So anyway, I like to make dips with Greek yogurt. And one time, instead of grabbing plain, I accidentally grabbed vanilla because they looked very similar in the containers. And so I tried to make this dill garlic yogurt dip. And of course, it was like this sickeningly sweet vanilla taste with garlic and dill, and it was awful. Yeah. And my son loved it. He ate the whole bowl. Like, I don't get it. And this is a kid who's very picky about his food. So, because my sister was saying that my niece, her daughter, would have eaten it out of spite when everybody else was saying how gross it was. Yeah. But I'm like, no, that's not my kid. Yeah, if he does not like it, he will not eat it. But yeah, it was very unpleasant. I said, I think the only thing that's worse is the whole orange juice, drinking orange juice after you brush your teeth. Yeah. Yeah, even my husband wouldn't eat that. And he eats almost anything. There's been maybe 3 or 4 times I've made something that was so awful he couldn't even eat it. So yeah, I said that's how I tell people it was really bad when he wouldn't touch it. Yeah, it was awful. Yeah, he doesn't cook, so he doesn't complain about anything I cook. Usually I'll say it's really bad, you know, you don't want to eat it. And he'll say it's fine, take a bite, and then, oh yeah, you're right. But yeah, like I said, fortunately that hasn't happened too often, so. Yeah, my son knows how to make a few basic things. Figure you shouldn't leave home without knowing how to, you know, cook a few basic soup, omelet, yeah, you know, French toast, mac and cheese, pasta, rice, stir fry, yeah. You should know how to cook a few basics, because buying pre-made food can get quite expensive. Not to mention the fact that there's a lot of salt and preservatives in there that's not necessarily that good for you to eat. Oh my gosh. Oh, haha. Almost fell to the floor, but I caught it. Okay, that's where I parked it. Yeah, I said, like, mentioning that I love Star Trek. It's like, where's my replicator, darn it? I was promised one. Yeah, I'd someone say, well, that's DoorDash, but no, that's expensive. Let's see, where do I want to put this? I think I'm actually going to park it up a little higher, because that makes more sense with being able to avoid closing stuff in when I use it later. Plus, it would be nice if everyone could just have exactly what they want, right? You want tacos? Okay, replicate a plate of tacos. You want spaghetti? Here you go. Yeah. I said, yeah, and even the nice thing too is you don't even do the dishes. You stick the dishes that it creates back in the replicator, right? Oh. Yeah, I sure wish that was a thing. I said, well, I mean, theoretically, I suppose it could be possible. They convert matter to energy, right? You burn fuel for energy. So theoretically, would it be possible to convert energy into matter? since it's not, you know, created or destroyed, just changed. The one I don't think would be possible is the transporter. I think a human brain would be too complex to, you know, break down molecules and reassemble. I mean, I could be wrong, but I mean, there's still just so much we don't know about how the brain works, even after how many, you know, centuries of study. Like they said, it's one of those, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Like, yeah, could you replicate consciousness? Maybe that's a question more for philosophers too. I guess theoretically it'd be possible, but I don't know if it's very plausible that it could happen. I mean, possibility can still be 1 out of a billion and still possible, but that doesn't mean it's very likely. So, yeah, I'm not sure I'd actually go in one either. I have enough anxiety about using elevators. I've never been caught in one or anything like that, but I don't know. There's a part of me that always says when you step on one, what if the cable breaks and you plummet to your death? Oh, yeah, anxiety is fun. Or I always take a second before I step on, because what if the elevator's not actually there? You don't want to step into the open shaft, right? I hope I don't give a bunch of you more anxiety, right? Yeah. Yeah, when he was little, my son did not like elevators because he didn't know it was coming. So all of a sudden the floor starts falling. It feels like, yeah, he didn't like it. Once he got older and then he was able to understand it and push the buttons, then he loved them. Then he'd actually play elevator at home. He would stand by a wall and push his finger against the wall, pretending to push a button, and then start slowly squatting down as if he was traveling downwards. So yeah, it was pretty cute. That's better. That was just looking uneven. I don't know if you guys could notice, but I could, so perfectionist in me had to fix it. Okay, yeah, got quite a bit sort of traveling upwards instead of downwards. Okay, I'm gonna come back up here a bit. 3743 again. Oh goodness, the birds are just going wild out there the last few days. I don't know, maybe it's mating season or something. Yeah, I swear they're only quiet for about 5 hours out of every 24. They start up at about 4 in the morning. They don't quit till like 11 at night when the sun finally goes down. Because yeah, here on the prairies we have long days. I had to get used to that when we moved out here, because usually, well, I was used to the sun going down at like, 6, 7, not, 10 or 11. So yeah, that took some getting used to. I'd end up staying up later than I intended because I was thinking, well, it's still light out. It can't be that late. Not realizing that it stays light out until, 10:30, 11. Yeah, now when we go to visit back in BC, it's like, oh, geez, the sun goes down early. Yeah, it's all what you're used to. Or when I first moved out here, because again, I was used to lots of hills and mountains and really tall trees, and then coming out here and I said I felt the opposite of whatever claustrophobic, whatever that is. The opposite of claustrophobic is, yeah, I was not used to so much open space. More used to it now, although I'm not out on the actual like highway that often. Where am I? Ah, right here. Yeah, use my grid lines to make sure I'm in the right place. Well, I rarely have to leave town because almost everything I need's here, so it's usually only if we go to visit family that I leave town. Okay. Ah, right. Okay, I was seeing there was one part down there, but yeah, I decided to do another thread separately for that one. And that way I won't have to close anything or do anything in out of order. I wasn't quite sure until I actually saw it searched and highlighted. Yeah, there we go. Got quite a few medium length pieces of this thread as well, so no problem. I can use them up that way. Ooh. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I can see this is probably going to be another multiple thread situation here. That is okay. So what I'm going to do is that. Maybe not, actually. I think I can see a way. Yeah. So I could have crossed as I went and then parked in the stitch below this one, but what I'm actually going to do is head back up to the top. Park it over here. Okay. So yeah, just juggling multiple threads here. That way I won't close anything in. I'm going to come up there without splitting the threads that were already sitting in that hole there. Yes, this is what I decided to do. I will need another thread anyway, but not in the place I thought I was going to do it. So I'm going to do this one here in the corner. And this next one here in this corner. And then I'm going to park it right here. Okay, a single stitch. Ooh, a long piece of thread. Guess that's all I had. Must have not had any leftover bits. Well, that is okay. Every short piece started as a long piece. Okay. Yeah, it'll be time to take this off the frame and do an update soon. So that'll be exciting. You have some people saying, I think I'm as invested in your piece as you are. Yeah, really like those posts on Facebook. People I know create stuff. Gives you a nice little beacon of happiness, you know? There can be so much unhappiness. Those updates really keep me going. So I think I decided yes on another thread. Okay, because this one I'm going to carry over to the right. Yeah, that's just the way that worked out. 3747, which is very similar to 3743. I have mixed those up before. Yeah, that was when I discovered just how secure pin stitches are because, oh, removing them was not easy. It was a lot of cutting very close to the fabric, having to be extremely careful to cut only the thread. I'm going to have to use tweezers to pull some of the bits out because they were very firmly secured in there and I could not get a good enough grip with my nails. Yeah, I actually have found the pin stitch finish is more secure than the classic run it along the back of other completed stitches way that we're usually all taught to do it. And especially when you stitch over pin stitches as well, that gives it an extra layer of security. In fact, I know a lot of people actually end their threads that way with away threads where they sort of weave it along the back and then stitch over it where it gets stitched over later. But I tried that and I found that was just more ends hanging through the front than I wanted to deal with. You know, I already have enough with all of these part threads. I didn't need ends as well. Yeah. But I mean, hey, if that works for you. And again, that's another way that you can avoid having to turn your work. Because yeah, I basically never turn my work now. Saves a lot of tangling and time. There. Yeah, I certainly wouldn't want him to do this method with the multiple needles threaded if I was having to keep flipping to the back when I wanted to end off threads. That would probably cause a lot of tangles. Gosh. Yeah, fluffies are really being pain for me today. That's because I have a lot of stuff ended in this area, so yeah. Just a numbers game, right? There's more ends to catch and pull through, so it's going to happen more often. Okay, so that is in the next diagonal, so I'm going to unthread it and leave it. Okay, so this is where, yes, I planned to start a new thread of this 210 color. Whoop. Pulling another color out of the tray there. We don't want that. Yeah, I can see what I'm going to do. Before I do it here. We're reaching the edge of this diagonal here. Sweet. Yeah, since I don't stitch by page anymore, this is where I get my accomplishment whenever I get to the bottom of a diagonal. And that's when I back up my work too. Yeah, I know some people do it every day, which is probably a good idea. I just do it, yeah. End of a diagonal. That means I do it every 2-3 days. So, yeah, that's still pretty good. Yeah, and then every now and then I'll go into my Google Drive, which is where I back mine up, and I'll delete all but the last 1 or 2 of the backups. But Google Drive actually has a fair amount of free space. And if you're just exporting the progress file and not the whole PDF, then it really doesn't take much space or time to do that. Okay. My gosh, that is a big knot. Oh my goodness, that's got like 2 loops on the back. Okay. Let's see if we can get you to let go. Or if you're gonna be, nope. Ah, darn it. I hate when that happens. Yeah. There were 2 knots and I was able to remove one, but unfortunately the other one wouldn't let go. So, okay. Let's see if this one's long enough to just end it. I think I'll just do that. Yeah. Unfortunately, that was frustrating. Yeah, there's just enough to secure it. Perfect. Okay. Then I'm going to add a new thread again. But you know what? It's basically in the next section. So at this point, I'm just going to leave it for the next section then. Since you decided not to cooperate with me. Is that the correct one or no? Let me see. Yes, it is. Okay, that's line 290. Just had to be certain. Which means this other one up above. I was going to do it, but now that I'm not doing the purple ones next to it because of that snafu with the thread there, I'll just unthread it and park it aside. There's going to be a lot of this thread in this area. Oops, there we go. Couldn't get you to park properly. Holy Moses. Don't birds ever get tired? Do they ever get sore throats? Oy. I mean, you probably can't hear it, but it's the same few notes repeating over and over and over for hours, man. Gets on my nerves after a while. Yeah, I had a pet budgie for a couple of years when I was a kid. But, yeah, they'd say, oh, just cover their cage. They go to sleep. No, not in the morning. When they decide they're up, they're up. And you're going to be up too. Oh. Yeah, I am not a morning person, that is for sure. Yeah, I can't even drink coffee to help me cope. Yeah, I had to give that up because it was giving me so much gut pain. Although I do find I function better without it once I got used to it. I don't have the afternoon energy crash that I used to get. So. Yeah, even though I didn't drink very much, I was a 1 cup a day, and it would sort of take me all morning to drink the whole mug of coffee, so. Yeah, my husband was able to drink coffee even in the evenings and be able to sleep at night, but that's definitely not me. I always cut myself off by 1 p.m. at the latest. Oh wait, am I parked correctly? Just see. Yes, I am. Okay. Ah, I was thinking the grid was 1 stitch over from where it actually was, so yeah. Just had to make sure everything was lining up nicely. Yeah, a bit of switching threads back and forth here, but that's okay. I'll just stitch till the bun with this diagonal, hey? I think that seems like a good stopping place. Okay, finish off those two. That will be enough for one more. Perfect. Yeah, that doesn't look quite right. bottom to top. There, now it looks better. Except for that fluffy coming through again. My gosh. There. Okay, yeah, that's all we're going to get out of this one. I was hoping it might be long enough to stretch to that one in the corner and do it, but no, it's not quite. If it was to do one more stitch that was right next to that one, it would have been long enough, but not to park and do another one. That's okay. There we go. Okay, no point parking this one either. Okay. Yeah, this one I'm going to kind of travel up to the right instead of down. In fact, I think this piece might be the perfect length. It'll just go these two, that one, and that one. There we go. Yeah, that was just right. Okay. Okay, since this one's already threaded, I will do it. Okay. Okay, 159. Okay, I'll finish up these last two. And that'll be a good ending point since we're at the bottom of the diagonal. And nothing else is threaded. So, yeah, I'll be ready to back up my work and head back to the top for another diagonal. All right, so there we go. So thank you so much for joining me today. And I hope to see you here again another time. Great, thanks everyone. Bye.